Beginning of the modern age.
Modern age in Europe begins in the 16th century, dear children. The modern age or the beginning of modern age. Here we will be discussing the Renaissance, Reformation, the downfall of papacy, humanism, scientific inquiry, geographical discoveries, and the people who brought the Industrial Revolution and its effects. This is a great pleasure, dear children, to get to know the modern age of Europe, because it is this age that has brought the revolution to the entire world. If you look at this beautiful history, we will be amazed at the treasure of information that we will be furnished with. Dear children, the beginning of modern age started with the Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Renaissance means rebirth or revival. In the year 1453, Constantinople was captured by Turks. Turkey, its capital, Constantinople, fell into the hands of Turks, and the Europeans entering Turkey were prevented to cross the area. Because of the Crusades, Christians and Muslims had the enmity. Unfortunately, Turkey fell into the hands of Muslims. Hence, the Christians from Europe were prevented from entering Turkey. Turkey was a strategically important trade center for all the Europeans. It is through which people came towards the eastern countries. Eastern countries had the trades with Europe, exporting spice and other varieties which were rarely seen only in the eastern countries. Pepper, cardamom, and the other spicy items were found only in the eastern countries, particularly in India, China, Sri Lanka, and the neighboring countries. When the Christians were prevented from entering Turkey, an important strategical trade route to enter the eastern countries, people were desperate. The Christians from Europe were desperate because they had to take the spices for their eating food. Hence, people in Turkey ran away from that area because they were chased by those people. They ran away from Turkey. While running away, they carried all the ancient Greek literature with them, fearing that all the literature will be burnt down by the Muslims. Here, while taking the books of the ancient Greek literature, people fled to various parts of Europe. There, they had read the books, reread those books. They delved deeper into the Greek literature of the ancient history. They read and reread. They discovered the wisdom found in the book. It enriched them. It gave them the much needed scientific inquiry. That is called Renaissance, a revival of ancient literature of Greeks. The Renaissance brought colossal changes in the mindset of the people. Reading of the Greek literature, reading of the Odyssey, Iliad, brought immense knowledge to the people to move away from ignorance to knowledge. People awoke to reality. They understood the cruelty, the oppression they were suffering at the hands of the Catholic Church. People revolted against. People came out of the dominion of the church. Hence, we could say it is because of the revolution, it is because of the Renaissance, the revolution in Europe took place. Renaissance is the starting point. It is the Renaissance that marks the beginning of the modern age. In this chapter, we will be discussing in detail how Renaissance influenced not only the citizens but also even the kings. The nation states, the concept of the nation state was redefined. Each country thought of its nationalism. The universal authority of the Pope became undermined. The church was questioned. People refused to believe in the supremacy of the Pope, the cardinals, and the bishops. With that, we have the Reformation, a major religious reformation that took place in the Catholic Church. It shook the Catholic Church and from there arose the Protestantism. Dear children, in this chapter, we will be talking about the geographical inventions, the geographical discoveries, the Industrial Revolution, which brought this today's technology. All these things we will have a clearly defined terms.
Introduction. The transition from the medieval Dark Age to modern age is caused and marked by certain new trends and developments such as Renaissance, humanism, spirit of inquiry, geographical discoveries, and Reformation. The ancient period in European history came to an end in 476 AD with the collapse of the mighty Roman Empire. The barbarians who pulled down the empire had no taste for the pursuit of classical languages and fine arts. The neglect of learning immersed Europe in ignorance and darkness. Beauty is a snare, pleasure a sin, the world a fleeting show, man sullen and lost, death the only certainty. Ignorance is acceptable to God as a proof of faith and submission. Abstinence and modification are the only safe rules of life. They were the fixed ideas of the ascetic medieval church. But at the beginning of the 16th century, a renewed interest in the study of Greek and Latin brought about the age of reason. The Renaissance marked a reaction against established conventions. A spirit of inquiry developed. People began to doubt, question, and challenge instead of blindly believing anything that was taught by the church. This spirit of inquiry stimulated the progress of science, architecture, sculpture, painting, literature, geography, religion, etc. Renaissance. Renaissance means revival or rebirth. The age of reason marks the revival of classical Greek and Roman spirit. Renaissance signifies emancipation and expression. On the intellectual side, it marks the revival of literature and art. On the political side, it marks the death of the universal authority of Pope, the emergence and the consolidation of well-organized nation-states. Socially, it marks the spirit of individualism and the recognition of man as individual in society. Ecclesiastically, it marks the crumbling up of the idea of the universal church and the emergence of the national churches. Renaissance means rebirth of classical spirit on several fields of human activities. Renaissance in Italy. Italy, the school of Europe, was the birthplace of the Renaissance. Feudalism failed to take deep roots in Italian soil in the Middle Ages. The nobles and the church controlled the activities of the people. In due course, the death knell to feudalism was sounded by the Crusades, which was associated with the invention of gunpowder and the growth of nation-states and towns in power and independence. Northern Italy was in a position to patronize art and literature. Moreover, Italy was the seat of an ancient civilization which reminded the people of the grandeur that was Rome. The Renaissance scholars wrote in the vernacular languages which appealed to the masses. The absence of a strong centralized monarchy in Italy provided excellent opportunities for intellectual outbursts. Renaissance as a movement began in the 14th century with the publication of the Divine Comedy by the greatest Italian poet Dante and reached its culmination in the next century. The Renaissance movement comes under two broad divisions, namely humanistic phase or the revival of classical learning and literature, and the regulation of classical art. The first great pioneer in this line was Petrarch. He collected classical manuscripts written by Plato, Cicero, and others. He gave a new life to the ancient classics. Boccaccio, the disciple of Petrarch, followed the footsteps of his master. The humanistic movement was accelerated by the capture of Constantinople by the Turks in 1453 AD. The invention of the printing press helped in the production of cheap books. It considerably helped the cause of humanism. Renaissance also left its mark on the artistic side. The barbarians destroyed most of the remnants of culture of ancient Greece and Rome in the Middle Ages. The church controlled all the cultural activities of the people. Art was influenced by the church. The works of art were created mainly with the object of perpetuating religion. Renaissance created a spirit of devotion towards the Greek art and literature in the hearts of the people. Gradually, Romanist spirit began to find expressions in the arts, even in religious subjects. Leonardo da Vinci was a versatile genius, a writer, scientist, inventor, engineer, architect, and painter. As a result, architecture, sculpture, painting, music, and other fine arts progressed tremendously, though the influence of Christianity was very much visible on the arts of this time. Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, and Titian were the great painters of the time. The remarkable painting of Michelangelo is The Last Judgment. Leonardo da Vinci's famous paintings are Mona Lisa and The Last Supper. Raphael was famous for his paintings of Madonnas. Titian was noted for his mastery of color. Peter, Bruegel, and Elder's genre paintings depicted scenes from robust peasant lives.